Hey guys, Todd here with you. Welcome back to Bassin 101. I've had a lot of requests from guys wanting me to go over these oils. Why I use them, where I use them, and I thought since I'm working on a reel here, I would show y'all where I use a lot of this stuff. On the side of the worm gear here, I will use the synthetic gear lube. As you can see, it's thick, but it's not too thick. I've had really good success with this, and when I want a part that does a lot of moving, but I want it to stay, that's where I use the gear lube. Like on the worm gear, I'll use gear lube on the worm gear, but I also use tacky grease that I mix up. This is basically a ball bearing grease with a little bit of the synthetic lube mixed in. And if I want this to stay, that's where I use it. So the worm gear itself, I'll put this on there with a little bit of this. Just so I can, because it moves, this moves back and forth when you're casting. That's the only reason I do that. As far as the blaster, I use that basically on spool fittings. When it comes to the axis of spools, the bearings on the ends, anywhere that spool touches on the ends of these axes, that's where I use the blast lube. And you can get this at Lowe's. It comes in a spray can. I just spray it in the bottle. It's just easier to work with like that. As far as inside the main gearing, for all these parts I use the, again, synthetic gear lube because it's slick. It allows me to push the button in a lot easier. It's also a lot quieter when you engage the reel in gear. I also use it on the main drive shaft with, again, a little bit of the tacky grease, as you can see on there. As far as the main gear drive, I pretty much use the tacky grease over the anti-reverse, over the main gear, and I'll even put just a little bit on the thread so it makes it easier to put this on. But this gets this. I don't use anything else on that. Now if I want to, if I have some older grease that I can't get rid of because it might be in a tight area and I'm still putting new grease on, I'll always hit it with some WD-40 because the WD-40 will help break down some of the older oil, but it won't touch stuff like this or that. But all the old real oils, this will help keep it at bay basically, while my new stuff will get mixed in really good, and the WD-40 will kind of help eliminate the old grease. That's why I use that. The Real Magic, I use it, I'll put some Real Magic in here sometimes if it's not that bad, but mostly I use Blaster Lube on these. But where I really like using the Real Magic, this comes from a pump bottle that I just poured in here, I'll use it on the centrifugal brakes because it gives them a nice slick surface to go in and out of, and it doesn't break down, and it leaves a really fine silicone coating. So that's where I use it, is right there. I know this sounds kind of complicated, but it really isn't. To clean the old handles like these, I use a standard Dawn and water mixture, and I just put it in a rag and I just start working it. And guys, I'm going to tell you what, it brings it to life because this cuts grease, and you get your greasy fingers on these knobs and it will cut them. It'll cut the grease right off of it and clean them up. But that is my, you know, quote unquote oil system. This is how I do it. The Real Magic for the brakes, WD-40 in case I have some older oil that I just can't get off or maybe too tight of an area. I use it to break it down with the new stuff. Blaster Lube is basically used for reel handles and the axis or the axle of a spool. Synthetic gear lube is for parts that are free moving, but I want it to stick. And then the tacky grease is for the main gearing and for the worm gear. So you guys wanted me to break that down for you. So that's the best way I could think of doing it. So until next time, remember, new techniques are trendy, but bass never change. May the Father bless you and keep in Yeshua's name, and as always, fish on.